Great. Thank you. Awesome. Well, with that, officially welcome everybody to our student forum focusing on financial aid. We got a lot of panelists and some people from our system partners here as well. So it's really going to be a great time tonight. But before we get into the official discussion, we're going to just go over who we are as an organization. What is SSCCC? So before I do that, let me just introduce myself. My name is Jack Hill. I am the Vice President of the Student Senate for California Community Colleges. I'm also a student at College of the Redwoods, where where I'm majoring in political science and hopefully history as well. But the Student Senate, so the SSCCC, the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization and is student-led that represents over 1.8 million students in the California Community College system. It's through the SSCCC that students have a formal and effective opportunity to participate in formation of state policies that may have a significant impact on students. And also, just to add on to that, this SSCCC is recognized by the Chancellor's Office as the official representative body for the 1.8 million students in California community colleges. We are official, we are recognized, and we do indeed represent students. But moving on, so the structure of the SSCCC, how do we manifest our student representation? So the first pillar of our organization is through system participatory governance. We provide recommendations on policy decisions that impact students throughout the state, and we appoint students to over 25 participatory governance groups. It's through these participatory governance groups that focus on different aspects of state legislation and different issues affecting students that we really provide the student voice and ensure that it does not go unheard in those discussions. Our second pillar, legislative and policy advocacy. As a representative organization, we do a lot of advocacy work in the California State Legislature. So this includes introducing, sponsoring, and advocating legislative measures that affect students and will improve their well-being on campus. And we also act as the official voice of the students at the Capitol, where we do a large amount of advocacy work as testified by the efforts of our VPLA, who we'll have here tonight as well. Our third pillar of our organization, regional support and development. This is really how we finger the pulse of students. So it's through the Regional Delegate Assembly for each of our 10 regions throughout the state that we provide resources, training, and support to student body associations and regions, referring to regional delegate assemblies. And we empower students through policy development, issue discussion, and other venues. We really try and develop students' concerns and knowledge about statewide issues and ensure that it's facilitated from the bottom up so we can really have that student input within our advocacy efforts. And that all happens through regional support and development, specifically in the Regional Delegate Assembly. But with that, we're going to get straight into the forum, and I'm going to step back and pass it on over to Jasmine, our Vice President of Legislative Affairs, who's also a student at Folsom Lake College, who will be presiding over and facilitating tonight's discussion. So Jasmine, take it away.
Thank you. And I figured out the camera. So my name is Jasmine, Vice President of Legislative Affairs, and I'm so excited to be moderating this panel because financial aid is something that is extremely important to not only myself, but so many other students, especially since it has been a big advocacy push for the past couple of years within the SSCCC. So perfect. Okay, so for this slide, I just wanted to share some highlights that the SSCCC has worked on, or some financial aid programs that have been extremely beneficial to students. So one that I'm sure many of you all know is the California College Promise Grant. Now, this isn't a financial aid program per se, but essentially what this is it was formerly known as the BOG fee waiver, but you get 2 free academic years if you go straight out of high school into community college. So you get those 2 free years, only tuition, obviously. Tuition isn't the full cost of college, but we still have to pay for the basic need necessities, such as textbooks, course online access codes. Now that everything's moving back to in person, the high cost of gas, since it is unfortunately rising, and so many other basic need barriers that we face, but we're still happy that community college at least is headed towards the right direction compared to the other systems, and truly thankful for all our system partners who work on that consistently. And then moving on to Cal Grant reform. So I'm sure many of you guys have heard this so much in the past couple of years. So it was AB 1456, but this year it is 1746. And essentially we're trying to meet the full framework and get as much money as possible allocated into the final budget and pushed through the legislature and signed by the governor this time around. But we're looking to get rid of the GPA requirement because we know a lot of students who don't come straight out of high school take some time off, and it's hard to obtain their GPA from high school, or some students are from a lower economic background and might not have the same resources from students who are in a wealthier background when it comes to learning and having those extra resources to benefit them in the K-12 system. So it's extremely important that no matter what background, those students can obtain financial aid and continue their education, because we all want to, obtain a degree, but unfortunately not everyone has the financial assistance to do so. So that is why we have a huge ask for financial aid reform every year. And lastly, I'm sure many of you might know about Pell Grant if you are one of those lower income students. So this is through the federal government and not through the state exactly. But if you are a lower income student, you do qualify for Pell Grant if your FAFSA states it once you fill out the application form every year and renew that. So it does benefit those students who are from a lower income background. Typically, it just covers the cost of tuition as well. But if you already get the college promise on top of Pell Grant, that can help with your other basic need necessities. But with that, we can move on to the next slide, which is the introduction of our first panelist. So super excited to introduce Gina Brown. She is from the Chancellor's Office and the Dean of Educational Service and Support, and a super strong student advocate in any field that she works in. I had the opportunity to sit on her committee last year for an external committee, and I appreciated all the knowledge I gained from financial aid. So I'll kick it off to you if you want to introduce yourself a little bit more before we get into questions.
Sure. Thank you, Jasmine. And thank you so much to the Student Senate for inviting me here to talk about this like you said, most important topic about financial aid. As you said, I'm Gina Brown, one of the deans in the Educational Services and Support Division for the Chancellor's Office. I have been with the Chancellor's Office for about 3 years, but I've been in financial aid for I'm working on 20 some odd years now. So I've got a lot of financial aid experience. But if nothing else through this whole form for everybody, and I'm just going to throw it in there, I'm taking the liberty. The one thing I want everyone to remember is in order to get financial aid, you have to apply for it. Even if you don't think you're eligible, even if you think the application looks way too complicated, there's lots of help. So my one thing I want everyone to remember is you have to apply for financial aid every single year. Okay, thank you for the introduction time.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to our next slide for the first question, which is, what financial aid services and programs does the California Community College System provide to its students?
Sure. There are generally 3 funding sources for the various types of financial aid. There's federal, which includes the Pell Grant, which was mentioned, federal work study and loans. There is also state funded, and that includes the Cal Grant, the California College Promise Grant, also known as the fee waiver. And also there's legislation called AB 19, which is also a promise program, which waives the enrollment for 2 years at some colleges. And there are various categorical awards that are awarded at the local campus. And lastly, there are many, many scholarships and work study programs. And to add a little bit more context, more than $2.9 billion was awarded to students in the 2020-21 award year. And of that, 61% of that was federal aid, made up mostly of the Pell Grant. There are well over 40 different types of financial aid that's available at our colleges. The biggest one is the Pell Grant. There are loans available, Cal Grant, we've got work study opportunities, all the scholarships, and the categorical programs. And what I mean by categorical programs, I'm talking like the offices like EOPS or CARE or CalWORKS, maybe the DSPS, the Services for Students with Disabilities. Sometimes they have financial aid that they're able to award as well at their campus.
Thank you. Moving on to the next slide for the next question, which is, how knowledgeable are students regarding financial aid opportunities, and how can our system/campuses better disseminate financial aid information to benefit our students?
Well, I have a split answer for that, because we dispersed $2.9 billion. So that means students are applying, right? They know about financial aid. Also, 1.3 million FAFSAs were submitted by California community college students for the 2020-21 award year. So students know about financial aid. And colleges, one of the main functions, other than actually processing financial aid applications, one of the main functions of colleges is to perform outreach events. And at those outreach events, they will introduce financial aid concepts to students, help students complete their financial aid applications, and be able to answer a lot of questions regarding financial aid. The Chancellor's Office hosts the I Can Go to College website, which provides not only financial aid information, but all kinds of information about attending a community college. There are Cash for College events that happen throughout the state, again, that help with financial aid applications. And again, colleges have lots of college outreach events. So we know that students know about financial aid, but of course we all could know more. So how can information be better disseminated? Well, I try to urge all of our colleges to, number one, update your college website, right? Make sure your website is up to date so that if a student needs help after hours or only has a few minutes and just doesn't have time to go into the financial aid office, they can help themselves. But that really does start with an up-to-date, adequate, chock full of information website. So I would encourage you all as students, if you see that your website is kind of old or outdated or doesn't have the information you need, definitely reach out to your college so that they can update that. Also, another tactic that can be used, our categorical programs share financial aid information. Again, those are the EOPS, DSP, the tutoring center, the library, even admissions and records, all of those other non-financial aid offices, they can also share financial aid information. What's really great is some faculty include financial aid information on their syllabus, or even invite financial aid staff to provide financial aid information in the classroom, because that's where we know students are. Students see faculty all the time. They are integral in financial aid information. And lastly, and this one is pretty impactful, student or peer ambassadors are often one of the best sources of basic financial aid information. So I would encourage you, if your college does not have student ambassadors or peers, many times they're work study positions, I would really, really encourage you to inquire about those on your campus.
Thank you for that. And then moving on to our last question, which is what role does the California Community College Chancellor's Office play in enacting changes to the system, whether that be through legislation or internal policy and system reform?
Sure, that's a great one. Much like the SSCCC, the Chancellor's Office does a lot of legislative advocacy. We have our Government Relations Division, and they keep tabs and advocate, support. I'm not a GR type person, but anyway, so I don't know all the terms, but what they are really, really active. And not only just financial aid advocacy, but community college and student needs advocacy, especially basic needs. The Chancellor's Office also puts a lot of effort into data collection so that any decisions, policies, reforms, or advocacy can be data informed. Very important. We need to make sure that we're implementing policies that actually have been shown to work. And the Chancellor's Office has also developed a new framework to help address student financial needs as well as basic needs. And it's called the Social Determinants of Educational Success, because we know it takes more than hard work, right, and dedication of students to be successful. And it's the role of community colleges, administrators, student leaders, the Chancellor's Office to really make sure that the policies are student-centered and remove the burden of navigation to get financial aid from the students back to the institution. So one of the things that we've put together, like I said, it's the Determinants of Educational Success, and there's more information about this available, and I can put it in the chat, the link. But basically what it says is that in order to be successful, students need financial stability, they need to have their mental and physical health addressed, And then they also need very, very supportive networks. And those three things combined, usually anchored by financial stability and financial aid, all contribute to student success. And so that's one of the new frameworks that the Chancellor's Office has developed. And again, more information about it can be found on the link that I'll post in the chat.
Great, thank you. And yes, I just want to say we love having the Chancellor's Office because we work very closely with them and they really do value our perspective on the CC level. And I know that's a lot trickier on the UC and CSU. So very thankful to always have you guys hearing our perspectives and concerns. And hopefully we'll get a chance for an open forum where students can ask you questions directly. But until then, we will be moving on to the next group of panelists on the next slide, which are Robert from San Jose City College, TJ from City College of San Francisco, and Jonathan from Madera College. So if you guys want to quickly say your name and what major you're in, that would be great, or college, whatever it may be, to quickly introduce yourself and get the members to know you a little bit.
I can go first. Thank you, VPLA Prasad, for inviting me to this conversation. My name is Robert Andrade. I am the student trustee for San Jose City College. I'm also the SSCCC Region 4's communications officer. I'm currently majoring in the law, public policy, and safety, and then transferring to CSU Monterey Bay in the fall. Pleasure to be here.
Hi, everybody. My name is TJ Lee Miyake. I'm at City College of San Francisco. I am getting my LGBT Studies Associates, and I'm working on my Public Health Associates of Transfer. I am a 55-year-old first-generation student living with HIV and cancer survivor. And I have served as a senator this spring, as on the Associated Student Council, and I've been reelected for next fall.
And Jonathan, if you're there.
Hi, I'm Jonathan. I am the current ASG president at Madera College. I'm a history major.
Great. Thank you for introducing yourself, everyone. Now we will be moving on to our first question, which is, what financial aid resources or grants have you contributed to your academic success, and which ones do you wish you had received if you don't receive any at all? I will just call on, I'll go from bottom to top this time. So Jonathan, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. So financial aid resources or grants that I have contributed to my academic success has been financial aid. And for that, I have been working through federal work study, and that has helped me pay for my colleges, like my textbooks. It really has helped out a lot. I wish that I could have received a little bit more because I'm only receiving the governor's fee waiver, which thankfully has also helped me been able to work on campus.
Great, thank you. Now moving on to TJ.
Hi, thank you. So I have received the CCPG going back a few years. I'll be in school now since fall of 2019. I was receiving a Pell Grant up until one point, and then I was cut off after I transferred classes from a previous school in, and that bounced me into making me look as if I was ineligible and over the time limit. So I lost that grant. I've also used Free City in San Francisco to pay part of my tuition, and then applied for many scholarships as I could. And I wish I could still receive a Pell Grant, but I'm not eligible for that anymore. So.
Yes, I know Pell Grant is something that students are continuously advocating for through SSCCC as well. So hopefully that will change in the future for our students. But moving on to Robert.
Thank you, VPLA Prasad. So I think my answer would sort of be on the correlation of like, I benefited from the Cal Grant, which has helped me pay for college, especially working 40 to 60 hours a week. This had alleviated and assuaged some of my concerns for paying tuition itself. And then something, a resource that I wish I was, that I could utilize would probably be the Pell Grant as well. I also don't qualify for that. And as we all contextualize, college isn't cheap. And then when I also started at 2018 exactly. So that would sort of be my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question, which is what aspects of financial aid application process have been the most confusing or troublesome? Did you have difficulties qualifying for any financial aid? And we'll start off with TJ this time.
Thank you. Actually, the financial aid application process for me is has been pretty easy and simple. I've not had any problems with it. I do know that I'm a program manager for a nonprofit, and some of my clients have been trying to use it, and they find the financial recording stuff, particularly if they've been away in prison, as a problem, and trying to show that while applying. And once again, I'll just say, I was knocked out of my Pell Grant for that reason. Also, City College has a full-time incentive program where they give you $500 a month, and I was pretty much counting on that because I met all the criteria. Unfortunately, you only get it for 4 semesters, and my understanding, it takes 3.5 years for the average California community college student to finish an associate's. So not having that $500, living in San Francisco, paying San Francisco rent and groceries and everything was a killer.
Yes, someone who recently moved there, it is extremely expensive to live there, especially as a student. So I feel your pain greatly, unfortunately. But moving on, we'll go to Robert.
Thank you, VPLA. For me, I feel like personally, rather than just, per certain aspects of it, I feel like sort of as a whole, the application process was difficult. I wish I sort of had better understanding of how to fill it out better from my first start from my community college, especially, when I was in high school versus from now, it would be perceived as very difficult to sort of navigate actually applying and all that. So that would probably be my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Jonathan.
So my aspects so one thing that I've had confusing and also trouble with financial aid is from when I first started, it was kind of, we didn't have like a representative from our college come and tell us, hey, this is how we do it. So for me, trying to figure out how to do it from our college's website, it was kind of hard. And then once I figured it out, it kind of became a little easy. So it kind of helped me out once I figured it out myself. So I would wish that there was more ways to figure out how to do financial aid.
Retweet. I know so many other students go through the same struggle, and that is something that we consistently advocate for. But moving on to the next question, which is what financial barriers were addressed once you qualified and obtained financial aid? And this time we'll start with Robert. Who might be away at the second. So we'll start off with Jonathan.
Okay, so to answer this question, so the barriers that I have are addressed once. So once I qualified and obtained financial aid, the first year they told me that, like I said, only get the Cal Grant, and then after that, the second year I magically qualified for financial aid, and then a year after that, I went back to the fee waiver. So it was kind of touch and go at that point.
Thank you. Now going to TJ.
So, unfortunately, because my financial aid status sort of changed a little bit, it's been difficult to qualify and obtain financial aid. When I have attended meetings at the financial aid department to get help, it's always just a basic introductory, like you have to come and spend an hour and a half with us. They walk everybody through the same steps. I already know how to do all these steps, but what I need is some specialized one-on-one. I also noticed that many of the financial aid programs are usually more geared to people that are not my age. So, for first generation returning college students at any age, which I would assume is a large portion of community college students, we need something else to help them out.
Did you still have more, or were you ending there? Because I think there's a little glitch in
Oh,
what's
sorry. Yeah,
on my end, at
I
least.
ended. Sorry.
Okay. No, you're good. You're good. Technology, it's not for me, to be completely honest, especially with having to get used to it for the past 2 years. But moving on to Robert to be the last one to finish this question.
Okay, beautiful. So under the scope of basic needs, I definitely was able to probably, afford more housing when I had moved out. Under SJCC, where I, go to college from, they removed the barrier for paying college starting this year. Even with that barrier being removed, I still was left to pay for things such as like textbooks, aspects of transportation in order to continue my education. Another thing that I would like to aspect, or as far as once I qualified for it and such, I also did notice as well sort of a discrepancy regarding who was eligible for financial aid and who wasn't, especially within the international student community. I know a lot of international students are not applicable for certain financial aids the same way domestic students are. And as a board of trustees member, I've advocated for that at my district because I see international students being, necessary for our community, especially bringing a different sense of, community and different cultural perspective. And I think that's pivotal for the community as a whole. So I think that sort of would be my little spiel on that. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, really loved hearing your guys' perspective, because I think in the CC system alone, just a lot of members tend to overlook or not be as aware that, a lot of our students are non-traditional and they really do want to obtain an education and eventually transfer, but CC makes it their best job to make that dream happen for them, especially those who come back after a long time or are international, undocumented, whatever the case may be. So hearing it from people like yourselves is extremely impactful to them, and hopefully they'll watch this video when thinking about passing Cal Grant pretty soon. But moving on to the next and the last question before open forum, which is, what can college administrators, the CC system, and or state legislators do to improve the financial aid experience for students? And for this, we'll start off with Robert.
All right, sorry, this is a very tricky question. I had to think about it. For me personally, navigating the Board of Trustees world, I feel like one thing that college administrators could do is just attend the financial aid forums that we always have on campus. Once a month, once every couple months, we usually have a financial aid forum, whether that's for financial aid literacy or financial aid, grants that we offer, or an update on scholarships and grants that we have. Just listening to that and listening to what the students of your specific college needs, I feel like that's a great way for us to, build policies and build more services and financial aid that's specifically veered towards your campus. The CC system, having these conversations, once again, I feel like these are very pivotal conversations, and listening to fellow students from different parts of California itself is essential, because we all bring a different unique perspective from our basic, where our community and our school that we're from. I think that's pretty much it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to TJ.
Let's see. College administrators, I think what they could do is work within the different departments. Part of the reason I lost my Pell Grant was I was told to transfer those credits in to get them evaluated for my degree. And when they did that, that pushed me over the limit, made me look like I was out of meeting the time requirements, even though I have a 385 cum. And more talking, no siloing across departments, like, admissions and records, financial aid, administrative, and in between advisors as well. I think state legislators could improve the process by maybe helping us reduce the cost of books, or going to free sources of books, period. One of my books is a $350 rental for the semester. That is just crazy. And if I want to purchase it, it's $400. So anything to reduce college stuff. Also, just think about older students. As someone who was diagnosed with AIDS in 2000, I used my money to help me live the last few years there, everything. So I had no backup for me. People that go through major medical issues end up using up all their retirement sources, and it takes somebody 20 years to get back to the point where they were when they started. So I'll be working till the day I die. But I'm happy about that, because I'm going to school for what I believe in public health and helping communities that are underserved. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, TJ. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Lastly, Jonathan.
So what can college administrators do for this problem? I would say going to basically publicize this a lot more, not just to the high school students, but to people who are getting interested in going back to college, the non-traditional students. The CC system as like this panel here, and this is a really great tool to use. I feel like the state legislators, sorry, I'm not good at pronouncing stuff. I feel like they should watch this video, talk to community college students, maybe get the word out on trying to advocate money. That I feel like that we could do more than what's being done already. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll move to open forum for a little bit. So this is for any of the panelists, either the student or Gina Brown from the Chancellor's office. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, and we will read it if it is given to any of the co-hosts. So yeah, we will wait a couple minutes, but while we graduate, or is there anything the panelists want to add that they thought they didn't get to highlight so far that is really important to share from your own personal experience while we wait for questions to come in? Anyone can just unmute and go.
Sure. This is TJ speaking. One of the things I lost with Pell Grant was being eligible for federal work study. It would be great if the state maybe came up with a work study program for non-traditional students to be able to have a chance to get that money. Also, with all the programs like CalWORKs, Metro, EOPS, there was always one little thing that denied me the ability to join those groups, but I needed either, say, the tutoring from that group that was accessible by that group, or some help with the financial aid. I've worked very hard to get every bit of financial aid I can. I know that I'm getting what I am eligible for, but you never know. You're speaking to somebody else, you might do that. I love how you mentioned the social determinants of educational success, and I wrote that down. I saw your link. I really appreciate that as somebody who's studying public health, the social determinants of health, the intersectionality of all the things that as college students that we need to put together, to be able to get to school. Some people have children, some people have disabilities to get there. Some people, walk to school, and it's just really important. We're here, we're trying to better ourselves. We're trying to better the country, the state, everything. So please help us.
Thank you for that, TJ. And like the comment, $350 to rent a book for is absolutely ridiculous. Details, because that needs to be elevated. That is just outrageous. The master's degree, even people in their PhD programs, books shouldn't cost that much. But I'm losing my internet. Hold on. But I did want to say that I also wanted to respond to your comment about the federal work study. Unfortunately, colleges don't get enough work study dollars, but what's exciting is included in the May revised budget is money for the Learner Aligned Employment Program. And what we're trying to do is encourage all colleges to sign up for this, because what this does is it allows colleges to offer positions to students that are related to their area of study. And one of the best parts about this program, and which is why I encourage you all to speak to your colleges to encourage them to participate in this program, is undocumented students who have DACA status are eligible for these positions. And that is unheard of for a work study program. It's not really work study, it's work study in quotes program, but it's still unheard of. So it's a very promising program, but again, colleges have to opt into it. We're trying to get them all to participate, but any help from the students, I'm sure it couldn't hurt. One other thing I wanted to mention as well, at the Chancellor's Office, we're really encouraging colleges to really look at all of their policies, make sure they're student-centered, remove barriers. I'm sorry, I forget who it was that mentioned it. They said that he had to figure out the financial aid on his own. But I know how stressful that is. I've been a student, I know, I get it. That's why it's so important for self-service options to be adequate and to be available for students, because it's just, again, finding time to go to the office or wait on hold, it's not for everybody. And maybe if you're a working student or you've got some kids you've got to take care of, get dinner, or you've got maybe a parent you have to take care of, and the only time you have to deal with your financial aid is 9:30 at night, right? You need to have resources available. So, and the student voice is so strong. It's so strong. So those are even, it seems little, but those are the types of ways or things that you can advocate for on your campus. Go to the financial aid office and say, hey, look, wondering, would you consider, having office hours after 5 or updating your website? Because again, super, super important. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Robert or Jonathan, do you guys have any last words? Going once. Okay, I'm seeing a no from Robert, and Jonathan hasn't unmuted. So now we will be going to the final stages, which is getting involved. And before I pass it off to Jack to wrap us all up, I do want to say really quickly, since this is a financial aid forum and Cal Grant is one of the biggest things we're pushing for this year, if any of y'all want a way to kind of get involved a little bit that's not on here, is fill out the testimony, whether it be written or a video. Video is a lot more impactful to our legislators. Please fill out that Google Doc, send it to any students you know so we can share it with the members and really show that this should be the final year we advocate for the full framework of our Cal Grant reform, so we can finally get it passed. But with that being said, I will now pass it off to Jack, who will explain how to get involved internally, as well as wrap up this forum.
Thank you, Jasmine. And just again, thank you to all of our panelists. TJ, I'd never heard of a $350 rental textbook. I mean, seriously, that's ridiculous. I just am at a loss for words. But yeah, just great insight on such a pertinent and prescient topic, especially within our system that, like VPLA said, has been such a continuous problem. So hopefully this is the last year that we have to push for it. But some ways that you can get involved with our advocacy efforts within the SSCCC. Regional officer elections are coming up. So every year this time, all the different regional delegate assemblies throughout the state, they hold their elections for the vacant positions for the following, for the 2022-2023 term. That'll be next year's term. And the following positions are up for election: the Regional Affairs Director, the Vice Chair, the Legislative Affairs Director, the Treasurer and Communications Officer. You can find out more information about these officer positions on our website, or you can contact your local Regional Affairs Director and they'd be happy to provide more insight to you, or contact our Vice President of Regional Affairs, who I know is on this call as well. And if she could put her email in the chat, I'm sure that'd be greatly appreciated by all our participants. Similarly, you can get involved with participatory governance, so you can serve on statewide committees on a variety of topics. Like we mentioned earlier, we appoint students to a bunch of different statewide participatory governance committees that hold discussions about policy on different statewide issues concerning students, and you would provide that student voice. And compensation is provided, and not just any meager stipend. I'm talking like $25 an hour. So it's really a great opportunity to get involved and earn a pretty penny. And also, you could join a caucus. Caucuses are designed to represent diverse student populations, i.e., our Spectrum Caucus, our Student Trustee Caucus, our Black Caucus. You can create a caucus around any different issue or community, and they're really easy and a great way just to advocate for specific student needs within a particular community. But if you have any more information, you can also email our president, Angelica Campos, at president@ssccc.org. But moving on, some upcoming events that we have. So we are going to be continuing our student engagement webinar series. We had our first series, I think it was last year. Correct me if I'm wrong, VPRA, no, not last year, excuse me, last week. And it was a great turnout, really got engaged with other students and were able to interact with other people. Also, our board of directors meetings, they are always open to the public because we are a public body, and we really encourage people to come and see what we are about, what we do. That'll be from June 10th to 11th. Well, specifically, our meeting will be on June 11th. So if you want to come and see what we do, come to our meeting either online or in person in Sacramento. And also check out our calendar of events at our website, ssccc.org. And as always, feel free to email our president for any more information. But with that, we will officially conclude this webinar by just showing our last slide with all of our social media information. Feel free to get connected with us and get involved in the greater statewide discussion. But with that, we're going to end our webinar. Everybody, thank you so much for attending. Jasmine, thank you for moderating, and thank you to all our panelists for providing really great information and perspectives on a super important topic. Can't think of a better time to hold it. But yeah, with that, thank you, everybody. And I really hope you have a great rest of your night. And I hope we can get this final framework for Cal Grant implemented within the next year. But with that, thank you.